Right, okay, we are going to make a cone. Right, so we are going to start with a cylinder and we are going to stick it on the origin. We have a height segment that is 1 and we have size which is 12, and we are going to call this traffic cone. Okay, I'm going to make sure that it is on the origin. If you right click, it makes this little window appear, and that corresponds to these values down here, which I'm going to 0, and that puts it on the origin. I'm going to convert this to an editable poly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this face, which I can toggle the shading of with F2, and I'm going to put it down the bottom to make the base. Then I'm going to use the bevel tool. I'm going to do it twice. First of all, if we click and drag, you can see that it extends the geometry, and I'm not going to extend it very much, but then if I drag again, whoopsies, mouse glitch. Let's try that again. If I drag again, you can see that what happens is it makes the inner circle. So I'm going to make this about so big. Then I'm going to do another bevel again. So I'm going to do an extrusion part of the bevel and then the inner part of the bevel. And that kind of makes a cone. Right. Okay. So we still are an editable poly. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the geometry in the base of this cone by selecting every other edge as I go around on both the top and on the bottom, and then I'm going to collapse them to get rid of this intermediate geometry. So if I just demonstrate that with these two edges, if I go to collapse, you can see that it gets rid of that geometry and collapses the geometry into one. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to select the rest of the edges, because it's easier to do this job if you can see the edges that you're working on. Using this orbit rotate control to do the actual rotations. So I click and then I can do an orbit rotate. You can also middle mouse to move the viewport, and you can alt middle mouse to orbit in the viewport. So I've control clicked to make my selection. I think I've got them all. Looks about right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and collapse, and there I've got my hexagon. So that's about the shape I want. I'm just going to finally make sure that my pivot's okay. So this is my pivot. You can see there's issues with the smoothing groups on this model. So I'm going to fix those very, very quickly by selecting all of the geometry, which is Control A. And then I'm going to go down to polygon smoothing groups, and I can also drag this out, which means that I get everything selected. And I'm just going to clear everything, which means things aren't in a polygon smoothing group, and then I'm going to auto smooth this. And that's a quick fix, and that looks about right. Okay. So that's how to do a traffic cone.